Hey, hey, it is your girls. We are coming at you once again this week. We are Flex and Fiber, in case you didn't already know. And if you're new to this channel, kindly hit the subscribe button and also hit the like button and share this out with anybody that you feel like might resonate with who we are and what we have to offer. So again, I am Carmelle and that is Leslie, and we are Flex and Fiber. Why? Because we lift and we eat plants. So I am Carmelle Jean-Francois, Coach Carmelle. I work with individuals, and now I'm sliding into the corporate space to discuss sugar, to discuss chronic illness when it comes to lack of self-care and wellness. So I'm going to leave it at that until I get my situation together with regard to what it is that I do. But I'm always encouraging everybody to add more plants to their plate. I'm going to pass it on to you, Coach Leslie.
Oh, thanks. I'm Coach Leslie, and my day job is, if you could say, or you would say, is a performance coach. I'm a nutrition coach. Outside of their hobbies are just running marathons. I'm a CrossFit athlete, and I also am a pro bodybuilder. So I help athletes or active individuals achieve their goals with nutrition and strength training.
Yay! I think that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm going to have to get my intro down packed like you have. I'm a little bit all over the place. Folks, today we are talking about life lessons from prep. And when we say prep, we're specifically talking about bikini prep, but there's a lot of things that sports and sports related competition, and as we prepare and train for our individual sports at in any individual season, there are life lessons that emerge from it. Things that maybe for those of you who might not be into any type of sports or competition might be surprised. And actually, Coach Leslie and I, we kind of are surprised by some of the things that we've learned, or some of the things that were solidified and emphasized during our prep and during our training. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you, Leslie, if you want to start off.
Well, first we're going to do our Mythbusters. So each episode we are busting a myth about fitness, sports, bodybuilding, whatever topic, even nutrition. Today we're talking about the other 23. So when we say that, we mean the other 23 hours of the day. So a lot of times people think, that first hour or that 1 hour that they go to the gym or lift or run is all they need, and everything else will solve itself and handle itself, work itself out as far as their fitness and nutrition. But that's not the case at all. Coach Carmelle, how do you feel about that?
No, I agree with you 100%. So I'm used to hearing people say, they'll run up a flight of stairs and they'll be like, oh, I had my exercise for the day. And it's like, no, that's not the exercise for the day. And I used to be very much that. And Leslie, sometimes I find myself that is exactly my day. I'll knock it out, and I'll knock it out strong for a nice hour and a half in the morning. And the rest of the day, I'm literally sitting in front of the computer. There's a problem with that, folks. We can't be sitting in front of the computer all day long and think that that's okay simply because we had our hour this morning, or our hour of exercise for lunch, or it's coming up after work. It is not okay. A lot of our metabolic dysfunctions, some of the things that happen in our bodies, and especially with blood sugar regulation, it requires us to be moving. It requires us to be somewhat active during the course of the day. And oftentimes I'll tell my clients, after every meal, get up and walk around the office. If you can't leave the office, go to the bathroom, and maybe go to the bathroom upstairs instead of going to the same one on your floor, just so that you can get the body moving, get the muscles moving a little bit. And that always helps with removing a lot of the excess sugar from out of our blood. But aside from that, the body actually needs to move. And if you're wearing a smartwatch, listen to your watch when it tells you time to finish up your steps for the hour. I'm going to pass it to you, Leslie.
Yeah, no, that's great. I used to work in the office as well. So I used to have an office job. And while I was working in the office, I read a book. We had a book club for some of the women in on my floor, and it was called Eat, Move, Sleep. And it was just it was a super easy read. It's basically set up for a book club, and it's all about eating right, moving a lot and well, and then sleeping a lot and well. But a lot of it was, especially the moving part, was about like different ways that like people that are more sedentary or work in an office can get moving. And I actually incorporated a lot of the things that it said, because at the time I was at a desk job, I was sitting a lot. And even though I was still going to the gym all the time, I still was like, oh, wow, I sit a lot. And so I got a standing desk, and I would set an alarm to go off every, I think it was 30 minutes, and it would just remind me to stand up. And that really helped. And it got me into a routine where I was standing, walking more. During my breaks, I would walk. Sometimes if I could take the call on a walk, I would. I do have a treadmill at home as well. So if I could take a call on the treadmill, I would. I still do calls and, work on my treadmill and bike. So there's definitely different ways to move a lot. They mentioned in the book, this is probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but they said that sitting is the new smoking. And I think people just love to like say something is the new smoking. But basically, they were saying that sitting for long periods of time can really take a lot of life from you. So, and a lot of years from your life. So, I don't know how true that part is, but it definitely was a good read to just remind you like, we need to be moving, because that 1 hour is just not enough.
It's not enough. And it's true. Being sedentary and not moving does take years from your life, only because
Right.
the body's not doing anything. The
Right.
muscles are not moving. The blood, the sugar is accumulating in our blood and not having anything to do. The fact of the matter is, if we're only moving for that first hour of the day and we're not continuing it through the course of the day, we're still eating. So there's still breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and maybe even some snacks in between. And when we eat, it's literally fuel for our bodies to be able to move. But if we're consuming fuel, and we're not moving, what is that body? What is our body doing with all that fuel that we're intaking? This is how, over the course of several years, people all of a sudden start putting on weight and they don't know why. Well, it's an accumulation thing,
Yeah.
right? It's happening slowly every day that we're not moving during the course of the day. And that's why those points that you brought up, Leslie, it makes sense to get up and move, go to the copier. I used to get annoyed when people used to bring me my whatever I sent to the printer, and they would bring it to my desk. I'm like, give me a chance to just get up and go get my own copies or my own prints, just to give me an excuse to get up off that chair. And that one time you get up off that chair just to walk over to the printer and collect your stuff, it makes a difference. It really does. But we won't know if we don't see what's happening in our bodies. We can't. But in like, this is where the education piece comes in. If you know why you're eating for fuel, and if you know what your body is doing with this fuel that you're consuming, if you're not moving, then that helps too. And so once we get an idea of that, and maybe even by example, other people in the office will also kind of like take heed and start doing the same thing. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Okay, good. I was like, oh no, did it knock me out? Okay, cool. It's just important. And we want you to think about those other 23 hours in a day, besides that 1 hour that you just really put it in at the gym. And you know what? If you really put in that 1 hour in the gym, blood, sweat, and tears, and all of the good things, kudos, congratulations. You're doing more than most. However, don't stop there. We're not asking you to do 2 or 3 workouts a day. We're just telling you that movement throughout the course of the day, as opposed to sitting sedentary in front of a computer or just not moving at all because you know you knocked out that 1 hour, it doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it. So if you wanted to add any last words until we moved on, I'm excited to talk about our topic. Before we move on to our topic, Leslie, just put it in there or just go straight to our topic.
No, I think we could, yeah, just move right on to our topic. Life lessons from prep.
Lessons from prep. Let's talk about it. Go first.
Yeah, so this year was my first prep for our bikini bodybuilding season, and it taught me a lot about life. Some of the big takeaways were a lot of like mental aspects of it. So there was a lot of comparison, and that's just really with anything, like just not comparing myself to other athletes, other girls, because you're never gonna look like them. Like even me and Carmelle, like we weighed in for our show that we did together. We weighed in at the same exact weight, but I felt like our bodies just looked completely different. And that's just like a huge thing. Like a lot of times people, especially women, like we focus on the number on the scale and we're like, oh my gosh, this number is not moving, or it's this or that. But it's like, you can be the same weight as somebody and have a completely different body composition. So that was like one big takeaway. And the fact that like I wasn't taking any supplements at all, like nothing. I wasn't doing any protein powder, anything like that before prep. And then after prep, I have incorporated a clean protein powder that I feel like I, am proud about, and I can actually, I would recommend it. I do recommend it. That I use every day. But it was just one of those things where it was like, I'm just not getting enough protein from just like some of the foods that I'm eating. And adding that just really helped, and it just made it way easier. So just not being afraid to like go outside of the box that you're in and just try it. You know what I mean? And I could have easily just been like, okay, I'm just not going to go back to eating protein powder or consuming protein powder or some of the supplements that I was taking. But I feel like they helped, and I feel good. They didn't make me feel icky or anything like that. And so that was another really big thing. And then the last big takeaway is just how much of like a selfish sport it was. Bodybuilding is a very selfish sport. So there's a lot of different aspects that you have to be really like in tune with, especially with your relationships with other people. So your family, your friends, your significant other, work relationships, everything. So those three were just the big takeaways that I personally noticed that were definitely impacting my life for sure. What about you?
Boundaries are everything when it comes to a sport like this, because so it's interesting that you called it a selfish sport, and I love that you called it right, and especially within this topic that we're talking about, life lessons, because in life everybody's always saying you got to put yourself first, right? You got to take care of you first before you ever are able to really take care of the people around you. And it's for love of self, of course, but also to protect the people around you. So in other words, bodybuilding being a selfish sport, first of all, it's not a team sport. Leslie and I are not going in there interlocking arms saying we got this and we're gonna go ahead and win. And it's very much kind of like I have to focus on me and what my body needs, what my mind needs, what I need in my life, and what I need surrounding me. And this is the sport where if something is not working for you, gotta cut it out. You gotta say yes to that competition and say no to everything else that doesn't align to it. And that means people. And I think about it, Leslie, and selfish is the perfect word for it. But when people hear selfish, they hear that the bad connotation, that negative connotation that people usually have with the word selfish. But it's so not, especially if you know that you're doing this for a reason. This is your goal. This is you. Nobody is going to care about your goal the way you care about your goal. So in that case, you got to set the boundaries. You got to put up the rules. You got to say, I'm not willing to do this. But we also have to make sure that we take care of the relationships around us, because other people might not particularly understand why they're shutting me out right now. And we have to make sure that we take care of those relationships, help them understand, and maybe even make, I hate to use the word, but an ultimatum, like, look, just see me through this. And afterwards, I promise you, you and I, we're gonna, get back on track. We'll do XYZ. We'll go to whatever restaurant, whatever the case is. So Leslie, I love that you brought that up. And I just wanted to speak to as well on the case of vitamin, like supplements. I wasn't big on supplements either, but after this, there are some supplements out there, the creatine, the glucosamine, like there's certain things that I needed to take to help support my outcome, to help support my goal. If I was somebody that was very much into fitness and nutrition, and I was very much into, I just said fitness and nutrition, taking care of myself, supplements might not be a thing. But because we were looking for a certain goal, because we were looking for a certain type of growth, when it comes like physical growth, I feel like supplements were extremely important. In fact, vital, vital. And some of the things we would have been able, we were able to accomplish, we would not have been able to. Now I'm talking supplements. Leslie and I are plant-based. So
Right.
everything that was recommended or suggested to us, we were back there looking at the labels and doing our research. And that's why Leslie made a point to say that she found a protein powder that she was comfortable with, because it followed all the, how do you say it, it was aligned with all her values and what it is that she allows into her body. We're very particular of the things that we allow in our bodies. And so that was in keeping with your values, Leslie. And I feel like had it not been for prep, especially prep for this particular competition, we would not have made that distinction. It would have been what it always is. You know what I mean? And I feel like the distinctions that we learned about our boundaries, about the supplements and what we put in our bodies, I think that was huge. And just real quick, what I wanted to add to that was, the comparison. I definitely have to touch on the comparison thing, because in this life, like you said, everything, we compare ourselves to everything. That's why there are ads on TV. That's why there's a scale, and we're just always kind of like, well, I want to weigh what she weighs. I want to look the way she looks. And that's how the marketing industry really makes up, really does so well when it comes to beauty products, hair products, things of that nature. It's because they've forced us into this comparison game. And we found out very, very early, we can't do that. We come shaped differently, and when we put on muscle or take off muscle or whatever, we still look so different. And I found myself doing that when it came to Leslie. Leslie came with, we good?
Yeah.
We good? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All good.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know if I can hear you. Say something.
Can you hear me?
Uh-oh. I can't hear you.
No.
Why did that happen? But you can hear me?
Yeah.
This sucks. Oh my God. So I don't know if the folks will be able to hear me well. I was on a roll with what I was talking about. I don't know. Should I leave and come back?
Yeah.
Let me take myself off the stage real quick. I'll be right back, I promise. Hey, I don't know if you could hear me. I think Leslie just left. I hope you can hear me in that way. I'm not just talking for the fun of it. But I was just saying, as far as the comparison thing, it's not fun to be able to try to compare yourself to the next person, knowing that we show up differently. We have different genes in our bodies, and some of us resemble mom, some of us resemble dad, some of us are a mix of the two, and we didn't have the same parents, right? So it's for us.
Okay. Sorry, I think I
Yeah,
have
cool.
to go out and get back in as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because I couldn't get it back in. But that's okay, because we can just pick up exactly where we left off.
Yep. So as I came back into the studio, I saw that you exited. So I just picked it up from where I left off, and I was just finishing up my little rant about the comparison thing. And that was a big life lesson, especially Leslie. You know, I'm a twin. So I've been
Yeah.
playing the comparison game my whole life. And it's not healthy. It's not healthy. So again, a big life lesson from prep is is the ability to re-emphasize to myself and remind myself that comparison, that this is not the game. This is not where we compare ourselves to anybody else. Because what we see in the mirror, the judges see something completely different. You and I both have gotten first place in our age group, in these competitions, where I remember looking at all the other women and thinking, oh my God, these women look amazing. But obviously the judges see in each person something differently. So this is not where we compare. And one last thing that I wanted to bring up was the mindset, right? Because we're talking about fitness, we're talking about nutrition, we're talking about getting strong. So the other day, I'm so proud of my sister, and I'm probably giving out telling her business, but she won a competition for a new novel that she's working on. And all she had to do was submit the first chapter of the new novel, and she won first place. Now, this is mine, this is intellect, this is her creativity, right? And somebody might look at my sister and say, well, that's the twin that again, comparison, right? That's the twin that's winning something because she's using her mind. And what's Carmelle doing? Lifting up some weights. And I wanted to bring that up because of the the mindset aspect of it. When it comes to us doing all this physical work, what the mind and what our brains tell us on those days that it's just hard, Leslie. And you know what I'm talking about. Whether we have our period, whether we woke up on the wrong side of the bed, somebody pissed us off, or I'm just not feeling well today, or yesterday I didn't eat enough, or yesterday I ate too much. All of these things, or I just wake up and I just don't feel like it, but I know I have to. All of these things, that inside noise that our bodies tell us to get out of something that we know it's hard, because even though we enjoy doing it, it's not always easy. In fact, most times it's not, especially when we're pushing ourselves to a goal. And so that mindset, that tenacity, that willpower, that everything, the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into our workouts, it carries into every other aspect of our lives, our relationships, how we show up at work, how our minds and brains function, even as we do the work, no matter how intellectual it is or not. Would you agree, Leslie?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the mindset aspect was a huge life lesson of just like you need to almost prep your mind for this before you even get into it. So yeah, definitely a huge aspect of that.
Huge, huge, huge. All right. So with that, I think we're ready to move on to the to our last segment of the show. But before I do that, I want to remind you that our comments are open, and actually we would love to hear your comments. So what life lessons have you learned from really going head first and focus on any particular goal, whether it had anything to do with fitness, nutrition, or anything else in your life, getting a new job, becoming a mommy? I don't know. We would just love to hear what life lessons you learned by focusing on a very specific goal. So our next segment is our food of the week, or food of the day. What are we calling it? Just our featured food.
Yeah, just the food. We always want you all to try something different. and we will be giving you a specific food every single week, obviously plant-based food, every single week to try new recipes, let us know how you cook it, all different aspects of it, different kinds of that specific food. So yeah, just our food section. Our last part, we love to end with it.
So what are we ending with? What food are we talking about?
Today is nuts and seeds. So one of my literal favorite foods. I personally love nuts and seeds because they're so versatile. Like, they're easy to travel with. There's so many different kinds. They offer so many different benefits. They're very good for you. And you can make, like, you could top them with, or on a dish, or you can make a base of whatever nuts and seeds. You can make savory dishes, you can make sweet dishes. They're just extremely versatile. I would have to say probably my favorite nut is probably cashews. I feel like they're just like absolutely delicious. Like, they're sweet, not like, roasted, not salted and nothing like that. Like, just raw cashews. Like, they're just so delicious. And then I use a lot of hemp hearts. They're considered seeds, but they're very good. They're very high in protein, and you can put them in sauces. You can just sprinkle them on something. I use them for my smoothies a lot just to add some more protein. So yeah, those are my two kind of like nuts and seeds favorites, I would say. What about you?
Well, my favorite, oh my goodness, cashews are definitely up there. Cashews. Most people would say peanuts. I think peanuts is America's favorite nut, but peanuts are not a nut. Peanuts are actually a legume. It's a bean.
Mm-hmm.
So then the next favorite, America's favorite, would be almonds, and then cashews
Mm-hmm.
is pretty close behind. I do love my almonds, but they're a little bland. Cashews have so much flavor, and a lot of the vegan cheeses that you see out there have a cashew nut base because of the consistency of it and and how much flavor it has. And Leslie was saying how versatile nuts are, and you can actually, when you soak cashews long enough, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Good, and I can hear you. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
All these notifications. I have to figure out a way to turn off the notifications.
But anyway, I made a whole separate thing. I'll show you. I'll tell you after.
Okay, cool. I would appreciate that. Cashews, you could throw them in a blender and it can actually make for a nice creamy sauce. So you can start blending other things with it and just experimenting with flavors and thickness and the consistency of it and how you like it. I know Brazil nuts. I don't know if you're a fan of Brazil nuts. I am. You only need one or two of them. They're huge nuts, and they have selenium, which is a necessary nutrient that we need in our bodies. So that's good. Nuts and seeds have a tremendous amount of nutrients. Besides the protein, they're high in fiber, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, all the things. We just can't do too much of it, especially if we're on a weight loss journey. I would suggest, you leave it to a couple of ounces a day, like at most, like a couple of ounces. You really can't do much more than that.
Like one or two.
On a weight loss journey. What'd you say, Leslie?
I said 1 or 2 ounces, not like 5.
Well, right. Thank you for clarifying that. When I say couple, I really mean 2. But when people say couple, they mean a few. Like literally 1 or 2 ounces of nuts a day. Like if you had 2 ounces of cashews, don't go thinking that you're gonna go have 2 ounces of almonds. That's not at all. But that's very specifically if you're on a weight loss journey. But just see how you feel. Nuts are definitely amazing foods, and like Leslie was saying, you could top it off, and I sprinkle it on like the almond slivers. I sprinkle it on my salads all the time. Sometimes in some of my sauces, because I like the texture of it too. I like that bite. What else was I going to say about that? And the seeds. Seeds are important because seeds are high in omega-3s. Omega-3 fatty acids are something that people always claim that they're missing, especially when they go vegan, because you get that in fish. But our chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, and I think there's one more other that's not really coming to mind right away, are amazing. They are very high in omega-3 fatty acids, which is something that we need. And I literally have my omega-3s in the forms of seeds every single day. Sesame seeds are amazing. All of these nuts and seeds are incredible. Make sure that you sprinkle some in your food at least once every day. Don't go crazy, and you'll just increase your diversity of the foods that you're increasing, and they taste great. What can I say? That's it. That's all I got, Leslie. What else you got?
That's it. Yeah, I think we touched on a lot, and as always, we appreciate you all listening in. Don't forget to like, listen, subscribe, share. Am I forgetting any?
Nope, you said all the things, and comment.
And comment.
We're going to see you next time, hopefully with fewer hiccups. Until next time. Ciao, ciao.
Yeah.